Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. It's been drizzling all night in Lagos, southwest of the country where we're broadcasting from. But then again, in your part of the country, it just might not be the same. And beyond, especially as people are watching us also along the coast of West Africa and even beyond. Electoral matters, because in the weekend there's an election coming up, but we're not dealing specifically with the Edo election coming up. Let's look at matters arising. Now, 8 years ago, you recall the Justice Mohammed Uwais led Committee on Electoral Reform submitted its report, and in there somewhere was also a recommendation for a body to be known as the Electoral Offences Commission, that it be established. Well, whereas there were inputs from that report, no doubt, in the amendment of the electoral law, that body still hasn't come into being. But there have been indictments all over the place, talking about electoral tribunals. There have been indictments, and yet, so far, if I'm not mistaken, and if I am mistaken, it's all right, I've got it covered, because my guest this morning is Barrister Adekunle Ojo, and so he's sure to pick it up. Thank you very, very much for coming on, Kunle.
Thank you so much.
And we haven't seen any indictment, so it just might be that I am the one at fault. Have you seen any in electoral prosecution, prosecution of electoral offenders, or perhaps even convictions?
Well, let me say this without missing word, that we've had convictions. Perhaps it might not be so much
very few and
open,
far between.
Yes, far between, because if you have like 1,000 prosecution and you are able to get just like 4 convictions, it's as if you have done nothing.
Okay.
And basically that's where the problem is, and it is much deeper than that, in that you find out that most of the prosecutions, most of the cases were struck out one way or the other, maybe due to lack of diligent prosecution and so many other problems that belag it. And that's more reason why a lot of Nigerians have started asking questions. Is it because INEC deliberately refused to prosecute, or they are incapable of prosecuting, or the investigations were never done the way it should? Is it?
Or is it just a Nigerian thing?
The Nigerian thing, yeah. And all these questions are that, you see, I recollect some times ago that in faraway Ekiti State, some gentlemen were caught on an election day with some AK-47. You recollect so well.
Well, it's good you call them gentlemen.
Yeah,
it's good you call
they are
them
supposed to be gentlemen. Yeah. and at the end of the day, the Nigerian police were they caught them, they arrested them, and they came up with a finding that they were going to use AK-47 to hunt for bats in the bush and all whatnot. So when you look at all of these added together, like the crisis you had sometimes ago in Imo State, a senator, you recollect so well, who was caught perpetrating some electoral offenses with his sister and so many other persons, and it will appear as of today nothing has been done. So people are asking questions, for how long are we going to continue in this manner? Because the impunity ought to stop.
Exactly, because for instance, you say that there have been a few cases, few, far between.
Infinitesimal, in fact, they are
exactly
just like a drop in the ocean. So no one seems to be bothered about it.
And that is a problem.
And I tell you one bitter truth, that most of the people that are caught and most of these prosecutions or convictions secured are not the ones that will attract people's attention, not the ones that involve the senators, not the ones that involve members of the House of Representatives. There are these innocuous people around the corner who can be easily sacrificed and all whatnot. That's not to say that the conviction shouldn't still be secured. But then, beyond this, we are waiting for situations
we've
whereby,
not got meaning, even though we've got, let us put it that way, statistical convictions, meaningful convictions aimed at the central plank of the objective, which is to clean up. It's really to clean up. It's a form of corruption, but most especially clean up our whole electoral system. Well, after all, we're talking about electoral reforms. And if impunity is going to be the order of the day, you remember amazing pictures in the last election, the election that brought the current administration into power. There were pictures, dramatic pictures of people snatching ballot boxes and running away with them, and those ones were actually recorded. And it's
Nothing happened.
A lot has happened, and it's
Yeah.
beginning to look like we're not really serious in that matter.
Yeah.
And that's why the conversation has sort of sprung up again. What to do with electoral offenders? It's a rhetorical question. You know, we know what to do with the electoral offenders. You got to prosecute them, even if they have their day in court. But even that far, we're not getting. What do you think, Kunle, is the reason why? You just said it. Sometimes, for lack of diligence, prosecution. Why are we not being diligent? Why are we, as it were, taking this thing a bit easy? What do you think is the situation?
Let me first and foremost underscore the importance of this subject. I say that with the mind, with focus on the fact that over the years, we keep talking about voters' apathy. Something somewhere has led us to this. And the fact that people felt, look, even if I go out to vote, it won't count. It won't matter. Then definitely, why am I troubling myself? And beyond this, again, you find out that people, if at a point in time, persons who are caught perpetrating electoral offenses, and no one ever bothered to ask them questions, then it emboldens. It strengthens those who are yet to be involved. And look, not heavens will not fall. And beyond this, even if you look at the terms, the sentences that they could get at the end of the day, if you look at the penalties, then you will ask yourself, is this what it should be? They are not stringent enough. They are not even strong enough. So an average politician wouldn't mind. You see, if you look at people that are involved in all of this, INEC is involved. Politicians are involved. The people on the streets, you and I, we are involved one way or the other, because people that are perpetrating all these offenses that we're talking about, they are not ghosts. They are Nigerians like you and I. People that carry gun and know what not. And we said something. It's not it's not that we don't have the laws. The laws have always been there, even without the electoral law. There are so many other laws there in our penal code, in our criminal code, that could be used to bring all of these people
but
to judgment.
There would appear to be the perception of untouchability of certain individuals. Again, this is not just in relation to electoral law. It happens across the board, unfortunately, the way we go about prosecuting the law in this country. But still, the authorities usually always have to work within the guidelines. Take, for example, the Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, Professor Ben Angwe. He was saying recently that, look, for the avoidance of doubt, we are not indicting anybody, but investigative hearings are to begin very shortly. Again, that's part of a problem. Investigative hearings, the objective of this would then be to recommend perhaps to the Attorney General the next step, which everybody would think is prosecution. This again is going step by step, going about it the right way. The Executive Secretary is stressing that we have no power to indict, even though we're hearing things about naming and shaming. That's as should be. That is as should be.
Well, that's part of their powers, and like he rightly said, he said they have not conducted an investigation into it. All that they have done was
investigative hearings. I understand.
Well, basically, all they have done was to look at some of the judgments.
Yes.
Look at some of the reports.
Yes.
And bringing all together, they had what I could call a collation of what happened, and they say, okay, based on this, I think these persons should be investigated. And having said that much, I think perhaps there ought to be investigative hearing. That is part of the job of the National Human Rights Commission. They have not done that. They don't even have the powers to indict now. I think where they are now, it's not even far-fetched if the matter is taken up by some other authorities. I tell you without missing word, the Attorney General of the Federation is fully aware of what has happened. And you can as well say, look, if necessary interest is generated, you can pick it up and say, look, in view of this, let us look at what happened. Can we call on one or two persons? Can the police go into it? Can they find out what happened with a view? And beyond that, you see, that is why the recommendation of the Electoral Offenders Commission has become an offenses Commission or whatever has become a must. That act ought to be promulgated, and it will serve so many purposes. Number one, if you look at it now, we have close to 200,000 units, polling units in Nigeria, and we have just about 100 lawyers in the services of INEC. How far can they go? And we have 36 states. We have 774 local government. So meaning that they don't have the capacity. That is the truth. And more so, they are already engrossed with the election proper itself. Campaign, so many things that they needed to attend to. In that wise, it has become incumbent that a body be set up that will have a focus, just one focus. Look into all these areas. And more so, this commission won't be attached to the apron of the Attorney General of any state or the Federal Attorney General. So in that wise, knowledge prosecute cannot be entered. You find out in most cases that people that are alleged to have done one thing or the other, the moment their benefactor becomes the governor, what happens?
Okay.
They enter nully.
Let's just go on a break. We'll come back and continue with this conversation, and we'll include your call. Stay with us, please. Welcome back. Looking at the whole idea of the recommendation of the Justice Mohammed Uwais led Committee on Electoral Reforms that was submitted its reports all of 8 years ago, recommending the setting up of a body, the Electoral Offences Commission. That is yet to be done. And when the Buhari administration was coming in, one of the things it was saying was that, look, in relation to corruption, it was not going to be business as usual. And we've seen that. Yeah. But that has been essentially in the areas of maybe financial crimes mostly.
Right.
But the danger, you were just telling how, and there have been indictments up and down the line, but it hasn't been picked up on the platform of electoral offense have been committed. Now, in that sense, one of the dangers is that those who seem to think that life goes on with electoral offenses could possibly be saying that nothing has changed. It's business as usual, contrary to the mantra of it's not going to be business as usual. In that regard, you might forgive them for thinking that, you know, nobody's really paying attention to that area.
That's the truth.
So when the time for election comes, boys, we know what we do. Because we saw, you couldn't be more blatant than to kidnap, quote unquote, a whole box, a ballot, an electoral ballot box, and run with it under the full gaze of television cameras. So that was the more, more ridiculous one. How about the ones where they are more surreptitious and all of those things that will require investigation? My fear is that in relation to electoral offenses, the appearance has been given, inadvertently no doubt, that it's business as usual.
Yeah. I think basically that's where we are now, and it's quite unfortunate. You see, in a recent election, a by-election that held in Rivers State, you see the two gladiators.
1 second, please. Let's just take Alhaji Hassan from Lekki. Good morning, Alhaji Hassan.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Yori.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Ojo.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
We are discussing the issues of Electoral Offenders Commission.
Yes.
Which will put a final touches to our electoral system and cleanse the roads in our system. But based on your discussion, I can easily point one thing or the other, that even the National Electoral Commission lacked the human resource to take care of the magnitude of the electoral offenders that are on the ground. Because all the offenders are people involved across the nation of over 700 and something local governments. We can see the concern there. But it's a good start. And I really appreciate you for saying one thing, that most of the people that were convicted are low-class people that can easily go unnoticed. We need to bring the big fish, the big wigs, the juggernauts, the caterpillars of politics that were accused of committing electoral offenses into the ring, so that that one can serve as a deterrent to others. Because this is a very good attempt to clear our political system of rigging, of restoring people's confidence into our electoral system. Good morning. Thank you very much.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Alhaji Hassan. Okay. And that right there is the problem, the point and the problem, because people have come to begin to run with the erroneous notion that there are some
sacred
people.
Cows.
Thank you very much. Right. Sacred cows. Some people are untouchable, and yet we often hear the opposite, that there will be no sacred cows. We will. It doesn't matter whose toes, they will be trod on if they put them where they are to be. Nigerians are yet to be convinced, and that's what Alhaji Hassan is saying, that the instances that would really make a difference hardly make it to the front of the row, and that's a problem. Like in all things, like in all aspects of the law, but particularly this one, I think it's important, and the importance, I think, is sort of being inadvertently subdued.
Unnecessarily subdued, and quite unfortunate. You see, because he mentioned a point which we already discussed there about the capability of INEC. You see, as presently constituted, it is not in doubt that INEC is not well positioned to prosecute all these cases. But then what are we doing with the state ministries of justice? What are we doing with the Federal Ministry of Justice? They prosecute some of these cases. The states too, they prosecuted some of these cases. The police, they prosecuted some of these cases. But then the impact is still not felt the way it should be. You see, part of the suggestion will have been, yes, a lot of people have recommended that there should be electoral offences tribunal. Yes. For me, that is not really a problem. I would rather subscribe to having mobile courts during the election.
Okay, one moment, please. Let's take Rotimi calling in from Ijora. Good morning, Mr. Rotimi.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Mr. Yori, you see, the problem we have with Nigeria electoral system and lack of diligent prosecution is basically on the issue that we are having with our traditional system. Our traditional legal system is basically bastardized because our familiarity with ourselves. For example, somebody is arrested for a crime which he has committed. He knows somebody somewhere who is highly placed. When the police arrested him, in few minutes, the police is being called to release the person unquestionably, unconditionally. Now, tell me, I want to share a scenario with you.
Sure.
I was coming from Abuja sometime around November. I come in through night bus. I was attacked by these boys in Okene in Kogi State. We met one of the DPOs close to that Okene. He was telling us that those boys are participating that crime virtually every day. That when they are arrested, it is the senators and their traditional rulers that call them to release them. And tell me, in this kind of a system, how does the legal system try? How do you prosecute someone who knows a governor? How do you prosecute someone who knows a senator? How do you prosecute someone who knows the Chief Justice of Nigeria? How do you prosecute someone who knows the Minister or the Inspector General of Police? What are we talking? These are the issues that is hampering the Nigerian legal system. And the better for us if we wake up on time to tackle this cultural system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rotimi, for calling in. In effect, what Rotimi is saying
we still need to start from somewhere.
Yeah, we need to start from somewhere.
We have problems, no doubt about it.
The very important point I think Rotimi is making is that it is actually not true that nobody is above the law. In practical, pragmatic terms. It's there in the textbooks. That's the way you must write it if you're going to pass your exam. But having passed the exam, you might even get an A in it. When you come into the real world, you see that that is rubbish, that nobody is above the law. And that's one of the problems.
That's where we need enough political will to tackle some of these things. You see, the present regime says they have the capacity to contain certain things, to curb corruption. Then they need to manifest, they need to exhibit, they need to display it in a clear terms. That's where some of these things become quite important. And you see, we must be fair with ourselves. In a situation whereby you are the governor of a state and you appointed the attorney general for the state, and some of your boys are being caught for one political for electoral offense or whatever, and the prosecution is being done by the same state ministry of justice, it's easier for them to enter what we call nolle prosecute. That means this man, we want to discontinue with this case. So if we have that kind of a situation, that is more reason why the agitation for an independent body who will draw its fund directly from the federation account, who will not be attached to the apron of the attorney general of the federation or anybody. That is
so that's what Justice Mohammed Justice Mohammed Uwais-led commission must have been thinking of when they recommended the setting up of this electoral offences commission. But that has yet to be done. Let me just bring in Yakub calling in from Dokwemo. Good morning, Yakub.
Yeah, good morning, this is Yori. And then good morning, good morning, Judge.
Thank you.
Your guest has already said before. It is Shifiri, our institution is weakened. If our institution is not weakened, how can somebody commit a crime when we are talking about electoral offences crime? And then I want to ask a question. What happened to Justice Mohammed Uwais' report? You know why that report will not see the light of the day? It's very simple. Our politicians know they don't want the election on the day of election. Because before the election, they already bring on the gun and all that, give it to some guys that they will perpetrate the evil. At the end of the day, when they caught them, as your guest said earlier, they won election, and then the impunity of, okay, let me win the election first, and then the second runner or the loser will go to court. And then they will be in the court. At the end of the day, the president and the governor of the state, they will liaise together and they frustrate the opposition to lose the election on the ground of the manipulation. Are you getting what I'm trying to say, sir? See, the question is this. Until our institution is strong, to the extent that police and so many officials know that no any president or a governor of a state can remove him from the office. If he does his job very correct, he know that my job is secure. Whatever I do it because of the institution that is strong. No government can remove me. It will go straight and prosecute whatever committed crime. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in. You know, there might be some observers, commentators, critics who might say that, look, there's a danger in multiplicity of institutions. We already have the prosecutor, we have the police, prosecutors and all of that. It's not going to make that much of a difference to have an electoral offences commission. So they might say.
If we are getting to that level, it would then mean that for electoral offences, police will not prosecute. Attorney General of the Federation will not prosecute. Attorney Generals of the state will not prosecute. It has to be strictly that body.
Exactly.
And it means they need to engage as many lawyers as possible to cover the entire terrain. And you see, if you look beyond even where we are, part of the failures of prosecution has to do with policing itself. You find out that in most cases, policemen are deployed from their different stations to several other units. A man could be taken away from Kano to maybe perhaps Bayelsa State, and the moment the election is concluded, he's sent back to where he comes from. Apparently, this was the man who saw what happened. He was supposed to be the investigating police officer, and he has gone back to Kano State. You can see where we have
There's a problem right there.
So much.
And investigations take resources.
Yeah, it takes resources.
And the police is not known to have limitless
that
resources.
Kind of resources. So at that point in time, there won't be prosecution of some of these offenders.
There's a danger that we actually are just mouthing these things.
The synergies ought to be brought together. We need to bring all the units that are involved in electioneering, we need to bring them together. How do we solve this problem?
Meanwhile, this now takes us back to where you started from, that there are voters that are sufficiently cynical to say that my vote is hardly going to count. I'm not going to bother. Now that's not an acceptable situation, mental frame of mind.
And even beyond all of this, do we need to set up election offences commission before cases of murder can be investigated and be dealt with? I'm aware that in the past few years, close to 900 Nigerians were butchered were killed in the course of elections. Why have the perpetrators not been prosecuted?
And that's the question. Let me go on a quick break. I'll be right back. Stay with us, please. Okay, welcome back. Continuing the program, we've been joined by another lawyer, Barrister Wale Ogunade. Not that he's looking very much like a barrister. I can't see a bib, I can't see a tie, I can't see a jacket, but then the man will say to you, wait a minute, Voters Awareness Initiative, we're on the field. Are you coming from the field, Wale?
Well, I just came in to make preparations towards the elections.
There you go.
Ensuring that indeed we as stakeholders, as civil society people.
We love you just the way you are. It doesn't matter how you come. Thank you very much for coming on, Barrister Wale.
Thank you, sir.
We're looking at this perennial problem, if you will agree that that is what it is, of in that whole mantra about it's not going to be business as usual. President Buhari coming into office before he had arrived, it's not going to be business as usual. As relates to electoral offenses and offenders and convictions and indictments, it does look to be very, very much business as usual, in the sense that there is nothing to deter people from planning their own little schemes in forthcoming elections.
Not little, big time. Big time. And as I'm talking to you now, we have plans. There are plans indeed in Edo State too, because it's going to be a war-for-war situation. Well,
we hope not. It's just an election.
It's not just an election, because the stakes are very high. The stakes are very high, because the elections is about a winner takes all. So the stakes are very high.
Not that is the way it's supposed to be, but you're stating it the way it is. That's what in our beloved society.
I would be unfair to my people if I refuse to tell them how it is and what we have had on the streets of Benin, Urua, Iromi, and co. So the issue is that the politicians have not learned anything. Before I came on air, I heard my brother talking about institutions, and it's everywhere. The institutions are weak. The last time too I was involved in an election, in my Korokoro eyes, we saw the way that the elections were bungled in Anambra. Materials were moved around. Even to make it sweet, somebody was eventually charged to court after we've made all the necessary advocacy. As I'm talking to you now, we don't know what is happening to the matter in Obosi. So if it can happen that way, you find out that there's nothing. People will just do it to impunity. And I really sympathize with the National Human Rights Commission, who came out with the report. Maybe that's the basis of this program.
It is. They restarted the conversation.
So if indeed...
But again, stressing that they are not indicting anybody because the law doesn't allow them to go that far.
But unfortunately, the Electoral Act, Section 120 to 124, provides that indeed people can be punished for electoral offenses, not one person. And I want to believe people got emboldened from the days past. Even the electoral offense that now gave people some elements of boldness was Ngige Mata, this current Ngige senator, who is a minister. He was governor under his stolen mandate, and of course enjoyed all the trappings and so on till today. Rather than being punished, he's been elevated from being a mere governor to a senator, now a minister of the Federal Republic. So, but if institutions and the people who are involved in this crime are punished. So my brother mentioned close to 900 people, which is true, that have died as a result of electoral violence and nothing. Nobody has
almost, God forbid, it's almost as if they died in
just for
vain.
nothing.
Not even the provisions of the criminal code could be invoked.
Let's remove the Electoral Offense Act, the Electoral Act. The criminal code and the penal code are there if it happens in the south or in the north. But nobody, and again he said it again, once somebody is the head the state governor, the principle of nolly comes in, that you want to prosecute my people, the commissioner. During the bar conference that we just ended now, an attorney general was making some statements that we were embarrassed. And of course, he was making that statement because he wants to please his political paymaster, who is the governor.
Which attorney general of which state?
Of Bayelsa. No, you know me now, of Bayelsa State, at the back conference that we just had in Port Harcourt. And I was stupid.
Scandalized.
Scandalized. I was embarrassed that I can say that, yes, the 13% derivation money that comes to that state is their money. They can do. In fact, he said they can burn that money. He said, not. And of course, thank God that although we called him to order that money is not your money. You hold that money as a trustee.
For the people.
For the people. So you can imagine at that level and how such a high-ranking government officer can make such statements. So if he's now the Attorney General, can he have that effrontery, the audacity to prosecute a political offense that is managed by...
where do you think all of this is leading us in? Because I started off from the beginning by saying that one of the dangers of this kind of a situation is that people might not be encouraged to come out. Those who have the mindset of, my vote is not going to count, stop worrying me, I have more important things to do. And that's not, all over the world, people are being encouraged to come out and participate in their right, their democratic right. But we have a different situation here, right? Hopefully, because I know that when the time comes, advocacy will really take the day. People will go around persuading people to come out and vote. You think it's still worth it? In spite of the challenges we have.
It's worth it because that's the only way that we move in an election and in democracy. Election is about the people voting. So, unfortunately, the number may not be the expected figure. I mean, maybe in a state like 3 million, maybe 1.5 million will come out to vote, or 700,000. Obviously, it's not here to huru. Yes. But then, you can't do without it. Don't forget there are some people who are die-hard. Some people have been given money. Those ones are there. There are some people that have been
and there's
given
nothing
money.
we can do about that. I mean, the law is against it. There are laws against it.
Look, these are reality. I told you I'm just coming. There's reality on ground. People have been given money. People have been given clothes. People have been given rice that is so expensive. And you know that rice itself now is the thing. You have a bag of rice, you are king now.
That is even about influencing the actual voters.
That's why
How about doctoring records?
That one goes down, and that's why we are saying it goes down because people will be there to I'm the person who promoted the idea of pasting results. You see, there was a confusion when the democracy started around 16 years ago, that indeed police station and polling station. So we'll take the results to the police station, whereas the law says police station. And of course it was used. And of course I came out when Jaga was there that, look, the thing is polling, not police. And of course the result must be counted and pasted there. And that's what brought about that principle or that policy. But you found out that along the line, people manipulated, taking it from the polling station. They now say that we are going to the local government collation center, from the local government collation center to the state collation center, and so on. And in between...
Let me ask you a question. Do you think we can sanitize the electoral process as a person now?
We can.
Do you think we can sanitize it to within tolerable limits of truthfulness? Maybe no more than 5%, probably. It's 95% good, and because it's a human endeavor, you have to allow 5% messing around.
Yes.
Do you think we can actually get there?
Yes,
While he has spoken about money, he has spoken about diehards, he has spoken about also, and you yourself spoke about those things before.
Yes, we can.
You think we can?
Yeah, I said this with emphasis. I said something a few minutes back. If there is enough political will to tackle some of these things, every hand must be on deck. And again, if you look at it, we all profess to be.
Is that every hand
on deck? No. We need to.
We've always been saying every hand being on deck.
Let me say this: we all profess to belong to one religion or the other.
There you go.
Christian, but then beyond all of this, am I ready to say the truth? Are you ready to do what is what is right? Mm-hmm. These are issues, and if you look at it so well, I said something. If perhaps we have what I call mobile courts to tackle some of these offenses. If a man, an underage person, are just voted, I don't need to arraign him tomorrow or day after. It could be arraigned there and then.
So sincerity of purpose comes in.
So
it goes back to what you just said. Is everybody ready to do that
which
is right?
To do what we are supposed to do. That's it.
And will bigwig, will top shots allow them?
Because if you look at it so well, the electoral law itself allow some of these matters to be tried at the level of the magistracy. So meaning that if it's like a state governor, you can get mobile courts in almost every corner of the state. Like Lagos State, we have close to 200 magistrates. So why can't the job be done? So I want to believe very well that, look, if we choose and we elect to do the right thing, we will do it. And coming to Edo State that you spoke about, this is where indictment comes to the so-called civil society organizations. What have you done to sensitize people? What have you done to let Nigerians know that these politicians are not worth dying for? If I and you chooses not to die for them, then definitely there will be sanity.
Okay, let me take Mr. George calling in from Ikeja. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling, sir.
Uncle Yori, I will look at this problem from two angles. First, the judiciary. Even if INEC was not prepared to prosecute or is not equipped to prosecute, the judiciary that we know will not be able to live up to expectation. The barrister on the right said out of hundreds of cases, or if not thousands, that only 4 prosecutions or convictions were secured over the years. It's another way of giving a license to politicians to kill people and get away with it. In the last gubernatorial election in Rivers State, I remember close to 90 people were killed. Are we saying that because you want to, assume an office, you have the right to kill people and get away with it? I think it should be looked into by the government. I have always said, and I will continue to say, that the war on corruption should begin from the judiciary. If it doesn't begin from the judiciary, we will not get anywhere, because you need to prosecute whoever the offender is. And the channel of prosecution is the judiciary. There seems to be a war there that has been waged by people to make sure that things do not work. The president should please think about it and see how it can reform the SAGE committee. I thought this is what they were set up to do, but I don't know what is causing delays. We are yet to hear some effect of what that committee is doing. As long as we do not address judiciary, corruption will not be all right. Will not go anywhere.
All right, and thank you very much, Mr. George. The judiciary, on the one hand, now without prejudice to what Mr. George has said, the judiciary itself, the judge, has to deal with what's in front of him or her. And I think the point was made earlier by Kunle that sometimes cases get thrown out for lack of diligent prosecution.
Witnesses are never there.
You know. Now, the police, let's go back to the police. They are the investigative authority. They are the people charged with the responsibility of investigating. Why, since they are not attached to anybody, why don't the police, what do you think makes it so difficult for the police to stand its ground? Let's say somebody called in and gave us an example of police getting calls from somebody to release somebody. If the police were to say no, quite frankly, it's not something that you could do very much about. Yes, you could try, but if the police were to stand its ground, society will get behind the police. Why are you laughing, Wale?
Let's call it spade a spade.
Yes.
We have weak institutions in this country.
Oh dear.
And if institutions are weak, you're calling the police. I have a matter, and this is something that is a difficult one. Somebody, just because he's in power, went and demolished somebody's house without any broad daylight.
It happens. It
happens. But that is not the law.
That's not the law. No.
So we call the police, investigate the matter, and we're about taking them to court. Somebody called from Abuja, and the man said, "Okay." In fact, when he was answering, he was on attention.
That's a that's a big problem.
So you see, institutional failure.
Institutional failure. So Mr. George is talking about the judiciary, but even
no, I want to lay. Sorry, sir.
Yes.
You see, don't take the judiciary far. Don't take it to the cleaners, because the judiciary is the political will.
Okay.
The laws are there, and it's the political will that will set up. My brother mentioned issue of the magistracy. If the magistrates are set up, and of course they have their mandate that look at the laws and work with the law, no interference.
Yes.
Shikenan, you the police, work with the law, no interference.
Within 30 minutes, they can get people convicted.
You the prisons people too, do your work, no interference.
So
no interference.
There is no will. There is no will. I don't know whether to call it political will
it's political.
or moral will.
It's a political
it is
will.
a political.
My brother. Sorry to cut you.
No, sorry. I'm very sorry to interrupt you. Let me. Kola has been holding on from Onibongbo. Good morning, Mr. Kola. I thought you were there. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. Please continue.
We all know, most of us know the story about Rwanda. 7, 8 years ago, they were busy killing themselves. It was a big genocide.
Yeah.
Now Rwanda is the country to go.
Yes.
Because if we say Ghana, some people will forget history about Ghana when Ghanaians were here in Nigeria. Rwanda is a case study of people having the political will, and all the countrymen and women say, yes, we want to do it right now. No more killing, no more.
Okay, gentlemen, where is this, since both of you guys are in agreement on this, where is that political will going to come from?
Can I say this
What is meant by political will?
Now, let me give you an instance now. We are going to have election in Edo State
Sure.
in a few days' time.
Sure.
Let us assume that a directive from the presidency, because the presidency is in charge of the police, that's the better truth, to the Inspector General of Police, that on no account must any life be lost in that place. Amass as many as possible of your men to that place. If you cannot police Edo State, then definitely how can you police the entire country? So I cannot fathom any reason
and your job is on the line if you don't do it very well.
Why there must be any malpractices when you have enough police officers around. So I think these are part of the will that we need to put to bear.
But we know, for example, that doesn't everybody know, without it even being said by the president, that the man is 110% against corruption? Can't you just take it for granted that this is the way to go? It doesn't work like that. Let me bring in Lawrence from Benin City. Good morning, Lawrence. Mr. Lawrence, Benin.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. I'm calling from Benin.
Go ahead, please. We're happy to have you.
All right, sir. I really want to contribute to what's going, because we at Benin, we are the people at the center of the whole thing. I really want to take this privilege or opportunity, because the tension is really high. People are afraid to come out to vote.
Why?
I was speaking to some youth around my area. Most of them were like, we are not going out on Saturday to vote. Because the tension, the drama, the whole thing is just a mess. I wish our politicians should learn from lessons from River State and other states.
Lawrence.
It is not.
Lawrence.
After election comes governance, and governance is not politicized.
Lawrence?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Explain, since you're in Benin City, you're on ground. What do you mean when you say the whole thing is just a mess? There's so much tension. Talk to us a bit about that.
Oh, okay, sir.
Where is he calling from?
When you go out...
Where?
Please go ahead, Lawrence.
Okay, sir. Precisely, I'm in Oduawa, a community in Benin City, in Edo State, very close to Benin City. And the way money is being shared, and the way, to be honest with you, a week ago or about a few days ago, there was some kind of killings, and they said it's cultists, but we know it's not cultists, it's political tension. Some people were killed, and people right now in Benin, whenever it is 6 o'clock, the shops are shut down, people are in their houses, to tell you the tension on ground. So I pray that God will help us this Saturday. I just pray that God will help us this Saturday. Thank you, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very, very much for calling in, Lawrence. A man on the ground there, tension, money being shared. I mean, what is electoral malpractice?
Sorry. Okay. If I refresh our memory, I hope my brother from Benin to Lawrence, during the last election in Benin, in Edo State, the whole place was militarized.
Yes.
But again,
because I was going to ask that question when
I was there,
when
I was
saying that ensure, put police, put authority. It's an election, for goodness sake.
So the more
it's becoming a military operation, a paramilitary operation.
So you see, the whole issue is that once there is so much tension as a result of some misinformation, we will have the problems we have. But fairness, that's why I was asking which part of Benin he is. But of course,
he said so.
He
said yeah. I didn't catch it.
I can't remember, but not in Benin City itself.
No, he said very close.
Very close to Benin, because I went.
But he did say money is already being shared.
Of course, I mentioned it here now.
The psychological warfare is going on.
So those
people
who have
shut their
money,
shops.
People have collected money who want to deliver. It's a big issue because there is hunger in the land.
There's nothing to discourage. There's nothing to put to put the scenario of you spend money, you waste it.
Can I give you an example? Somewhere in Irua, I interacted with one of the guys.
I think he said it was
no Irua. Okay. Somewhere in Irua. Okay. I met a young man said, why are you involved in all this? He said, this is my own time. You go give me, okay, they give me 200,000. You go give me now. You come from government, a government person you be. So that's the situation.
This whole thing about it is my time now. It is our time now.
The problem is actually Hydra-headed. That's the truth. If you look at it so well, you call it militarization. I don't see it as militarization. If my security is guaranteed, if I'm assured that no harm will come to me, why will I not go out and vote? That is, but
doesn't it also work the other way around? People seeing uniformed people all over the place.
With emphasis, it doesn't work against people voting. Some times ago, we agitated in Lagos, we don't want military officers around, we don't want whatever. But I found out eventually that these men were just in some selected places, not at the polling booth. They were not even out to intimidate. If we have areas that are more of flashpoints, like we are having in Edo State now, like we had in River State, these are places that you cannot joke with the security of the people. If the safety of their lives are guaranteed, people will go out and vote. Talking about money, where it's part of the obnoxious thing, the heinous crime that is being committed day in, day out. When this is being done, you find out that people who are supposed to be the ones to arrest them, they are even supervising the you know, it's quite
Mr. Mohammed from Kwara State. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Please go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Prosecuting electoral offender. Yes, this topic is very interesting. Perhaps since we are in the democratic section of change, in democratic section of change, I must expect this time around Edo and the Edo State and Ondo that the elections are nearby. I will expect complete change from the electoral officers this time around. Anything corruption, what have you, must not be there since we are in the era of change. And notwithstanding, APC government,
For some reason we lost him, but he's very optimistic. I don't know if he was being optimistic or cynical.
Unfortunately, he didn't conclude. Unfortunately, he didn't conclude.
He didn't conclude.
But whichever way, if the police chooses to do their job and do it very well on Saturday in Edo State, and
you say it goes back to political will. Okay, we've completely run out of time, but I'm going to let you land on the
I said something somewhere again, and that is that INEC, I'm one of those that are averse to, when you have an election in just one state, I'm averse to you recruiting ad hoc staff. Mobilize your staff from everywhere in the country. Yes, you already have some bad ones, weed them out. Those ones that are capable, instead of these susceptible, pliable youth corpers, using them as a bait. I mean, you can bring your staff that are competent to undo some of this. Maybe perhaps at the end of the day, we'll have better elections.
Thank you very much. Wale, last word from you on this whole matter, which unfortunately you seem to be saying that, look, it is what it is. There's no way, let's not deceive ourselves.
A way out.
The only way out is for the political will to come up strongly and of course make strong announcements and show scapegoats. When there are no scapegoats, then people will continue to do it.
Hopefully there will be a difference in this Edo election. People have heard
over to Ondo.
Let's hope. We hope it doesn't. Let's not get defeatist. Let's not get defeatist about this.
On the ground assessment. We've given our own experiment. I spoke with I got into the REC people, the INEC people who've spoken, and I hope that they are going to.
For whatever it is worth, I like the suggestion. Somebody said political will. What do you mean? He said, let the presidency announce to the Inspector General of Police that, look, there will be no tolerance, zero tolerance for any messing around. Just do what you have to do.
Or you get off the stage.
Yes. Okay.
So in that, everyone should just do his own bit. And of course, my own word for the Edo people is that election will come and go. They should just take it easy and ensure that indeed they do the right thing. Voting is not about violence.
Okay, all right then. Thank you very, very much. That's the end of the program. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.